Okay, we'll start with this. Junto Nakatani knows if he drops Naoya Inoue, he must make sure that he doesn't get back up.
Easier said than done.
Junto Nakatani was almost as nervous as Naoya Inoue's most supportive fans when Ramon Cardenas dropped the Japanese superstar 2 weeks ago. Nakatani's anxiousness stemmed from him wanting to become the opponent that finally defeats Inoue, not the adoration of a beloved boxer who has become a national hero in their homeland. I was really surprised, Nakatani told The Ring, but I think it was due to the timing, and Cardenas was just taking full swing at Inoue. That probably had a lot to do with the fact that he got knocked down. Cardenas drilled Inoue with a perfectly placed left hand as they exchanged punches late in the second round, May 4th at the T-Mobile Arena in Vegas. That shot stunningly sent Inoue to the canvas for the second time in the undisputed super bantamweight's career. Inoue, 30-0 with 27 KOs, entered the ring as an absurdly heavy favorite. 80-1, according to some sports books. That's what made this knockdown of the number 2 pound-for-pound fighter in the world more surprising than when former WBC bantamweight champion Luis Nery sent Inoue down during the second round of their May 2024 bout at the Tokyo Dome. Inoue's determination helped him get to his feet against Cardenas, 26-2 with 14 knockouts, much like he did when Nery dropped him a year ago. Watching Inoue annihilate Nery after suffering that knockdown gave Nakatani confidence Inoue could do the same thing versus San Antonio's Cardenas. Both knockdowns were identical. Both happened the exact same way off of the exact same punch. And both happened in the second round. I was a little concerned, Nakatani said, but after seeing the fight he had with Nery, I knew he was going to get back up, that he wouldn't just give up. Inoue indeed recovered quickly and took Cardenas' hardest head and body shots without incident after the second round. Similar to how Inoue dismantled Nery, the four-weight champion's arsenal eventually became too much for the courageous Cardenas to handle. The hard-hitting Inoue dropped Cardenas with a right hand late in the 7th. He finished off the gutsy underdog in the 8th when referee Thomas Taylor stepped between them as Inoue overwhelmed him with damaging body and head punches. Nakatani, meanwhile, is preparing for a bantamweight title unification fight against another Japanese southpaw, like himself, in Ryosuke Nishida. On June 8th at the Ariake Arena in Tokyo, Sagamihara's Nakatani, 30-0 with 23 KOs, and Osaka's Nishida, 10-0 with 2 KOs, will fight for Nakatani's WBC and Nishida's IBF bantamweight titles. In a 12-round main event, ESPN Plus will stream live. Nakatani is the ring's number 1 ranked bantamweight. Nishida is the number 2 rated contender for the ring's unclaimed 118-pound crown. If Nakatani, 27, defeats Nishida, who's 28, he could eventually earn the opportunity to finally fight Inoue next year. If that fascinating fight happens, Nakatani will have Inoue's comebacks against Nery and Cardenas in the back of his mind. He has the experience from getting knocked down and getting back up and still winning the fight, Nakatani said. That's a credit to him. If I knock him down, I have to make sure he doesn't get back up. A few passing thoughts. I remember reading that they're looking at May for Inoue versus Nakatani, which would give Junto just enough time to have one more unification match
after this one, provided that he wins.
From now till May of the coming year. If he dispatches Nishida, makes short work of him, he could have another unification match in the fall, maybe squeeze in another early next year to become undisputed champion at Bantam like Inoue did. It's possible.
The caveat is that relies on the cooperation of the other champions at the weight.
Junto is a dangerous man. The most dangerous at 118, I'd say. Look at how long it's taken him to get this guy in the ring, to get this unification match.
I struggle imagining what a Nakatani versus Inoue fight would look like, because even though Junto is a 3-weight champion, he's accomplished in his own way, he hasn't caught up to Inoue, hasn't been in as many high-level situations with champions at the weights he campaigns.
And whenever he talks about his countrymen, there is a sense of admiration that jumps out the page. You want to be careful not to respect him too much. This is your adversary.
Idols to rivals.
I happen to think that Junto is a harder puncher than Luis Neri and Ramon Cardenas, that if he lands on Inoue the way they did, it could be bad. Really bad.
But if you go in there respecting this guy and admiring this guy, you shrink in the moment.
You know, this could be the biggest fight Japan has ever seen in the history of boxing. A bigger fight, certainly, than Junto has ever been in, whereas Inoue is accustomed to big stages and big moments, critical ones.
Where it's all on the line.
That's what I take away from this article. Don't admire Inoue too much. Don't like him too much.
Men's lightweight news. William Zepeda will press for the knockout of Shakur Stevenson, claims the judges won't be in his favor.
That's what I like to hear.
New York. William Zepeda has more incentive than usual to knock out Shakur Stevenson. The WBC interim lightweight champion cannot see defeating Stevenson on points July 12th because the Newark native is perceived to be the house fighter. Their 12-round fight for Stevenson's WBC title will take place at the Louis Armstrong Stadium in Queens, not far from his New Jersey hometown. That has led the aggressive, all-action Mexican to believe he won't get the benefit of the doubt on any of the 3 scorecards in one of the featured fights on the Ring's next pay-per-view show.
Location matters. If the fight were taking place in, say, Arizona or Texas or just somewhere in the West or Southwest, Williams' aggression alone might be enough to win him the rounds. But because it's on the East Coast,
location matters.
My mindset is a stoppage. Zepeda told the Ring recently. Maybe it could be in the 10th round. Maybe it could be earlier. Maybe it can be a little later. But I know that I have to get a stoppage. I am coming to New York. This is his hometown. The judges are in his favor, and I know that I cannot leave this up to the judges. So my mindset is only that, is to go out and destroy. Judges for the Stevenson-Zepeda bout won't be approved by the New York State Athletic Commission until early July. 12 of Stevenson's 23 professional bouts have gone the distance, though none of those 12 victories is considered debatable.
Non-controversial.
Emphatic, albeit a tad bit boring. Zepeda 33-0 with 27 KOs, a southpaw from San Mateo Atenco, Mexico, went the distance in each of his past 2 fights, a pair of points wins over former IBF 130-pound champion Fevin Tarmer. He didn't win either of those bouts by unanimous decision, which Zepeda revealed will motivate him even more to defeat Stevenson inside the distance. Philadelphia's Farmer fought Zepeda on the inside at times. That mostly benefited Zepeda, who recovered from an unforeseen knockdown during the 4th round of their initial meeting, a 10-rounder, to win a split decision in November at the A&B Arena in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. So how does a guy who could not knock out Tevin Farmer then go in and knock out Shakur S. Stevenson, who's even taller, even longer, even trickier, fresher too?
Because he's younger. How does he do it?
Zepeda defeated Farmer by majority decision in their rematch at the Poliforum Benito Juarez in Cancun, Mexico. He doesn't expect Stevenson, a 3-weight world champion and 2016 Olympic silver medalist, to be nearly as willing to trade with him as Farmer was, who was also a southpaw. It's something that I worked on mentally in the gym, Zepeda said. I know that For as much as he says he's gonna stand there and trade with me, he's not gonna trade with me. I know that I gotta make this fight physical. I know that I've gotta make this fight a dog fight.
I do wonder what Shakur is going to do about the volume of William Zepeda, because this guy's a punching machine. If this guy don't do nothing else, he throws punches, and he throws punches in bunches.
I gotta be smart when doing it. I gotta be smart as I do it, and I can't just lunge in. I can't just make the mistakes that I made with Tevin Farmer, but I do know that once he feels the power, once I start touching his body, there's no way that he's gonna stand there and trade with me. DraftKings lists Stevenson, 27, as a minus 1100 favorite to defeat Zepeda, 28 in their mandated title fight. This ring show will also include a 12-round super middleweight bout between the moron Edgar Berlanga
and England's Hamza Shiraz.
So Tevin Farmer is not a good parallel for what Shakur brings to the table. That is, he's not a carbon copy of Shakur, because Tevin has always been a mid-range to inside slickster, whereas Shakur, when the heat is on, he's an outboxer. He's an outside fighter.
It's not bad preparation, but it's not the best, because Tevin is more pocket-sized than Shakur Stevenson without his height and length.
Tevin actually throws more punches per round than Shakur does. I do agree with William in the sense that I'm not expecting Shakur to engage him in the pocket. I'm not expecting Shakur to give William what he wants.
With Tevin, it was different because Tevin is a mid-range to inside fighter too, just like William, whereas Shakur is an outboxer.
At least he has been. Now, he'll take chances with a Josh Padley or an Avsat Havanesian, but none of these guys have the work rate of a William Zepeda, to where if you step into your punches, you're gonna end up in a gunfight.
For every one punch you throw, William may throw 3 and 4 punches, which can make a pure boxer like Shakur quite uncomfortable.
Keeping their guns holstered and keeping them on the move. How many fights have we seen where the pure boxer gets worn out and worn down by the pressure guy, who's not known for finesse, they're known for brutality, but that's what works for them.
That's what makes pure boxers uncomfortable.
Will it make Shakur Stevenson uncomfortable? He's got to be going into this fight with the Devin Haney fight in mind, and the William Skull fight in mind. The reception that those fights got, those fighters.
No bueno. And the reception that he got in the Nicotila fight, in the De Los Santos fight.
He's a young guy, so I know that it bothers him when he hears people say that he's boring or that he's a runner. He's a fighter, and he's young, and that makes him temperamental. I know he doesn't like it.
So is he going to try to make a statement?
This is an intriguing fight for good reason. Two unbeaten guys with very different styles. Who's going to have it all their way? It's intriguing for the right reasons.
Men's welterweight news. Bob Arum is rooting for Manny Pacquiao. Former promoter is really concerned about comeback due to age and inactivity.
Bob Arum will always appreciate everything Manny Pacquiao accomplished for his promotional company. The top-ranked founder's personal and professional respect for Pacquiao prohibited him from picking apart Pacquiao for returning to the ring at such an advanced age. That, and the 93-year-old promoter is, after all, more than twice as old as the legendary Filipino fighter. But just like virtually everyone else who cares about Pacquiao, Arum is nervous about the 46-year-old southpaw fighting again. Pacquiao returned to the LA area over the weekend to start training camp for his fight against WBC welterweight champion Mario Barrios on July 19th at the T-Mobile Arena.
I can't say anything negative because Manny meant so much to us and our company. But it seems really questionable that at his age, he would put himself at risk by going into the ring with a champion fighter. I mean, George Foreman wasn't even that age. He was younger when he beat Michael Mora. And George had been active over the years prior to that fight with Mora. Manny hasn't been active at all lately.
This fight is intriguing in its own way, albeit for the wrong reasons. It's intriguing because Mario Barrios is definitely low-hanging fruit. He's the low-hanging fruit at 147.
But then again, so is Manny. He's 46. So is it that Mario Barrios is so shit that a 46-year-old Manny Pacquiao can beat him, or is Manny too goddamn old to still be fighting people?
The late George Foreman was 45 when in November of 1994, he became the oldest heavyweight champion in boxing history by knocking out IBF WBA heavyweight champion Michael Moorer in the 10th round of their title fight at the MGM Grand Garden Arena in Vegas. Bernard Hopkins broke Foreman's mark in May of 2011 when, at age 46, the former undisputed middleweight champion unanimously outpointed Canada's John Pascal to win the WBC light heavyweight title at the Bell Centre in Montreal. Arum's point about Pacquiao is still well taken.
Pacquiao hasn't won a fight in nearly 6 years. Not since he edged a then unbeaten Keith Thurman by split decision in their WBA title fight at the MGM Grand. Focused on his political career in the Philippines, Pacquiao hasn't competed in a sanctioned boxing match since August of 2021 either. Cuba's Yordenis Lugas, a late replacement for an injured Spence, outpointed Pacquiao unanimously in that bout almost 4 years ago. San Antonio's Barrios is 16 years younger than Pacquiao. He also opened as a 5-1 favorite over Pacquiao, despite Barrios settling for a 12-round split draw with Abel Ramos in his last fight, November 15th, at the AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. It accents what I'm talking about, that Mario Barrios is actually pretty shit. But is he shit enough that he's about to get beat by a geriatric Manny?
The aesthetic of the fight. Marios is an action fighter, albeit a very flawed one, but that's what he is. He's an action guy, and Manny, if he's anything, he's an action fighter. So the aesthetic of the fight might be entertaining, depending on who's winning.
He's an amazing person, Manny Pacquiao. And if anybody can do it, he can do it. But I'm really concerned about him, given his age and inactivity. But again, I will certainly be rooting for him because he's a really great guy who's meant so much to us as a company.
The fight might turn out to be entertaining depending on who's winning. See, if Manny's winning, but Mario can make it competitive, I feel like people will be entertained. But if Manny goes out there and he looks every day, every week, every month, and every year of 46 years old, they're gonna be horrified.
I want to see Mario beat up on an old man.
Manny wins, it's a human interest story, a feel-good story. Mario wins, and he's abusing a geriatric fighter!
Nobody's gonna feel good about that. Manny least of all.
And you could hardly give Mario Barrios credit for fighting a 46-year-old fighter that hasn't fought in 3 years and hasn't beaten someone in 6. See all the pearl clutching from those altruistic members of the boxing community whenever Jake Paul fights a retiree. Are they clutching at their pearls now? Because they should be.
It's really the same thing.